and welcome everyone to the 2021 FAFL General Meeting. Drew and I are going to go through some things that we wanted to kind of touch base on after this season, because there are a couple of things we just need to kind of touch base on. So I think we should kind of get this started. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Going on up Omega. Looking at the first thing here is that we are going to be delaying the International Rules Series to 2022. I mean, a few people kind of knew what was kind of going on with that, that we were going to be doing that. But yeah, we're going to be delaying that by a year because of just how late we finished this year. So, due to the late finish of this season, we have delayed the International Rules Series to 2022. We plan to play 2 tests between Australia and Ireland in October-November 2022 in Melbourne and Adelaide. So we do plan to do the series then. Hopefully next season we're a little less late. So hopefully we can do it then. We will need players from Ireland with help here. So will new players be allowed for it? Yes, they will. Not direct rookies for the Australian side, but if you do want to do a new player that is from Ireland, feel free to do so. And hey, Shrouded. So yeah, that's pretty much it there. So yeah, we will be doing that next year. So anything you wanted to add, Drew, to that, or do you think I've kind of covered it?
Nothing from me.
Alright,
You can keep going.
alright, okay, moving on. The draft submission is currently open. If you have a player idea that you would like to submit to the FAFL, now is the time to do so, as we're looking to have the draft by February 2022, so you might want to start getting those players in. Hey Rosie, welcome to the show. So essentially, the link can be found on the announcement channel of the Discord or on the Farafuni page. We'll also post in the main chat if people want it right away to get their players in. So, I highly encourage you guys to start getting your players in, because I need to start getting the players I'm going to put in. I'm going to start doing that. Drew's probably going to do that as well. So you guys are going to want to get your players in for that. Any certain positions? Not that I can think of at the moment. That's going to come with free agency. And yeah, we will have a look at it when we get to that. I'll let you guys know then. I look forward to seeing the Twins Omega. I think it's going to be very interesting. So yeah, so essentially, if you need any help with fleshing out your character, feel free to ask me or anyone in the Drafty Workshop channel. I think all of us are willing to kind of help out with that. So, we can always kind of help you out, flesh out that character. So, just got a few people kind of typing here, so just gonna have a look at what they're gonna ask. Don't think I'll be submitting anyone. Can't wait to see everyone else's character though. Yeah, that's fine, Shrouded. That's absolutely fine. Probably work on at least one drafty, but need ideas. Yeah, that we can kind of help out with that. That's what kind of the drafty workshop is for, Kamari. Everyone can kind of go back and forth on ideas and that, and kind of help you out. I mean, I know several people currently have ideas for players, and they just need to get them in. As I said, Jack has said he's going to be doing the son of Xander McMichaels or McMichael. I don't know what is with that. But again, the former Geelong coach, that's a good idea. I wouldn't mind seeing that, Jack. So that's actually a good idea. Moving on, I think Drew doesn't really have anything to add to the previous thing.
No, go on.
All right. Another thing, this is just kind of the preamble stuff. We'll get into the big stuff kind of next. But we're always looking for help. We do a lot as commissioners of the league. We sim games. We take care of anything you guys need us to. We set up how the league works and many other things, but there is still loads of stuff we need to do that we just can't do because we're doing the most urgent stuff that needs to be done. Because of that, we're always looking for people to help in the league. We'll take any help in many facets, including helping with the wiki, which, yeah, we still need to finish that after all these years. Help with doing the FAFL 360 if people want to kind of do write-ups in that. Potentially helping us sim games, but again, that will be decided by us. Like, we will vet anyone who does want to sim games. Or helping us with any other potential thing that you think you'd be a good asset in. So really, we're just kind of looking for help in any way that you could help us with that would kind of ease the load or potentially help us in any direction. So like, if you wanted to do like just to help us out with kind of, you know, as I said, doing 360 and doing like stories here and there, or if you wanted to do, I don't know, help out with what we're going to talk about next, or again, kind of help us out with some of the stuff we need to get to. That's all good. But this is only voluntary as well. If you feel like you'd be unable to find time to help us out behind the scenes, just feel like you wouldn't be a good fit, that's okay. We understand that very much. Like, not everyone wants to come in and kind of do that stuff. They just kind of want to be a coach or a player in that. And that's very understandable. Like, it's only for people who kind of really want to kind of help us out behind the scenes. If you want to do that, good, but if you're not really interested or you just would be, but you don't have the time for that, don't worry too much about it. We'll keep trucking. We're all good with that. Just, as I said, there's just a few things we do need to kind of tackle eventually, and we haven't had time to do that. So, yeah, I think Drew would pretty much agree with me on that, I think.
Absolutely, because we're still only two people running the league, and the lack of free time on my end, basically. Because when I joined Brian, I was sitting at home because of COVID. Now that I started working again, I don't have as much time as I would like, so it's become a bit tighter.
Yeah, and
around
I've
around the schedule.
Yeah, and I've been a lot of the same as well. I mean, I've kind of been the same as Drew. I've kind of been stuck at home during COVID because, well, one, I was going to be doing a course and then I didn't get in, so I was going to have an off year anyway, but then I was going to try and find work and all that, but then COVID hit and then just last 2 years I've been a bit that, and then I'm kind of trying to find work in that on my end, so yeah, time's probably going to get a bit tight for me too, so that's why I said it's like, we can keep doing what we need to do, but if you want to kind of help us out, get stuff done on other things that we're kind of struggling with, that would be really appreciated. But again, it's voluntary as well, and it's only if you really want to do it. So if you want to help us out, just give us a PM and that, and we can work something out. So, okay, Jack's just kind of going on about how he kind of helps us sim the matches. So yeah, he's been helping us with matches this season, and he will probably continue doing that next season. So yeah, he's kind of going saying that he won't be as prevalent as he has been before either. So yeah, just keep that in mind, guys. We're trying our best here, but hey, sometimes we need a bit of help. So okay, moving on. Plans for FAFL Grandstand in 2022. This year we did 2 broadcasts for the All-Star Weekend where we covered both the Legends game and the All-Star game. Both broadcasts were a success and were well liked by the community. In part due to this, we have now planned to do more games for FAFL Grandstand in 2022. With those including games from the 2022 Premiership season. So we're going to be expanding FAFL Grandstand next season. I am going to be putting in the work during the off season to get that ready as well, along with the thing. And as Rosie has said, nothing is too little for helping. There's always something to do or help with. That is certainly true. Like, hey, even the small things help out, you know. But yeah, going like even with this, like we are going to be on the lookout for commentators for this. So if you want to get involved with FAFL Grandstand and help us out with that, that would be good. Yeah, this is very similar to Sports Den. Like we're kind of doing our own Sports Den next season. So in 2022, we plan to do 9 games for FAFL Grandstand, with 7 of them being the Premiership season matchups and 2 of them being the Legends game, the All Star game, like it was last year. Or last season, I should say. To keep things fair, every team we featured once on FAFL Grandstand to give each team 1 game that Sim used AFL Evolution 2. Sorry, just kind of put there. It's the game we used to do these broadcasts, and I think it's been a very big improvement on where the games were about 6-7 years ago. AFL Live 2, not very good. I did not like that, but AFL Evolution 2 I think is a pretty decent game for what it is. So we can use that to do this. So the 7 games that will be given in FAFL Grandstand broadcast will be announced when the fixture is released. So with 7 games between 22 rounds, it'll be like, I'd say,
one every 3 rounds on average.
yeah, on average. So we'll look at it and we'll go in on that. So again, we just kind of have to have a look at it. But yeah, the 7 so that if you want to be involved as a commentator, so if you want to be involved with this and join me for commentating, or even someone else, if you guys if we get a couple of play-by-plays and that, we can do something. So essentially, if you want to be a commentator for FAFL Grandstand, send me a PM and we will add you to the commentary roster and we will build that up and we can work out who's going to be doing what match and all that and rostering and all that. So again, if you want to join us for FAFL Grandstand 2022, just send me a PM. So, anything you wanted to add, Drew, about that?
No.
Okay. So, yeah, this has kind of been mainly on my end, this one. So, yeah. So, going on to probably what is going to be one of our major things here, the new salary system and the sim overhaul and all that. And we've kind of talked a little bit about that during the year, but we've worked it kind of out in that. During the 2021 season, we noticed that things have perhaps been made a bit unstable in terms of rosters due to the 2 consecutive off seasons where we did expansion drafts. We brought in Cairns, Melbourne City, Perth, Wellington into the comp, and that has led to some teams being weak in comparison to other teams. So we've had a bit of a gulf between skills of teams a bit, and we always try to make the league as competitive as we can, and because of this and a few underlying problems that have been created under the old system, we thought that this offseason would be a good time to overhaul the sim and salary system accordingly, because I think we're due to kind of do that. So this next bit, we're kind of going to go through it together, me and Drew, because he's kind of the one that's kind of worked a lot of this stuff out, and we've kind of just been kind of working on it a little bit, but he's been the main one behind it. So this is kind of going to be a bit of a longer one, and you guys may have a few questions, so we will see. First off, we will be dropping everyone's overall by 10%. This is the kind of combat the issue that we've been having where there have just been, like, people have been unable to kind of get a good grasp on how good players are and all that, because some people have thought, oh, well, an 80-something will be pretty good and all that, when they weren't, and we've had loads and loads and loads of 99s when practically that's a bit overkill. We don't need so many of those, so we've kind of decided to just give everyone just a 10% nerf and go from there, because that would really just perhaps even things up a little bit and just, give people a better sense of what is actually good and that. And because, like, as I said, we've had some coaches where they're like, well, wait, isn't 87 meant to be good or something, or 89 or something? And then come to us about it, and we have to kind of go, well, there's all these 99s and that, and it's just, it's even it up. So, Drew, you kind of wanted to speak a little bit on that?
Basically, the 10% nerf will bring everybody a bit closer together. because imagine 99 is gonna get dropped to 89, but an 80 will only drop to like 72 or something. They won't drop as much, so it's not as punishing to the weaker players. It's not. It might be negligible, but it's the but this is, I think, a good balance between. If it was too much, then we would have the best players be at like 80 skill or something. If it was like 20% decrease, so 10% is the middle ground in this case. And I was kind of inspired. I will admit, I was inspired by FIFA when I was researching and thinking about the overhaul, because the best players in FIFA are usually about 88, 89, 90, that kind of area. So the best players here will be just under 90. I will get into the detail. I can get into the details now because 90 overall will be kind of semi hard limit. You can limit if you will. You will still the players will be still be able to upgrade to increase their overall skill by playing matches up to 90 overall. After that, they can only increase their overall by winning any significant individual award. That means the CJ Willing Award, that means the Newman Trophy, that means the Bruce Medal for the top goal scorer. Those will increase your overall, and some of those this will be accounted into the first season with some players getting higher skill than usual. That means Colin Traviston, Jay Samuelson, Ashlyn Adler, Faith St. Clair. Those kind of players will be given a higher overall to start with because they won the awards already.
Yeah, we looked at that and I kind of agree with that because again, we're trying to, keep it mostly the same, but we have to you have to kind of give kind of the best a little boost as well compared to some of the others, just in terms of just how they are, because like you'd expect them to be on the top of things, and that is, you know what I mean, like, but again, like they are still getting a nerf, shall we say, like they're still getting dropped, everyone is, but it's, again, like as Drew said, like everyone, the new limit is going to be 90, but award winners do get like a 1 or 2 point boost in that limit, just because again they've won the awards to prove it. So
Uh,
would that,
91, 92 would be permanent.
yeah,
Basically, basically the hard limit is 90 plus whatever individual awards you have. So if a player wins an individual award, the hard limit of 90 just gets pushed up by 1 point. You can't if you reach that, you can't upgrade, and you can't upgrade anymore, but but it will be, but if you drop that overall by not playing the games because of an injury or something, then yeah, you will be able to get back up to it. What will happen to what sort of overall will the rookies enter things at? We were thinking about, because about somewhere around 80 post overhaul, which would be around 90 under the current overall stats, because from the past I noticed some of the rookies, like the 4.5 5 star rookies, they were 97, 99, not 99, 90, 95, 97. I personally think that is that too high. Like the 5 star rookies should still be good, but not that good, if you
yeah,
understand me.
yeah, I
They still
understand you.
need to be developed.
Yeah, yeah, that's about where it would be, and like it would kind of drop down depending on each rookie and all that, where you get to the stars and that, like, what we've been doing. So it's just,
Yeah.
so thanks for kind of explaining that a bit, Kamori. So that was kind of questions from Kamori and Jack. I'll answer that one a little later, Jack, when we get to the actual Q&A. But We've done this to try and even up the league in a fair way that'll hopefully keep the status quo intact going into 2022, so everyone's kind of similar to where they are, but it will allow teams that are struggling to develop more quickly and be competitive sooner, as we're going to kind of explain in a sec as well, because we've done some overhauls to how players improve and downgrade in that too. So, going on to the upgrade system here. So this is one
Yeah.
overall point for every X amount of games played. 90 or
Yeah.
over, you can only get that, as we explained, by winning a major individual award, Willing Trophy, Newman Medal, or Bruce Medal. So winning those.
Yeah.
The Jeff Rose Medal does not actually count in this equation because that is just a single game one. It's from the biggest game of the season, I'll admit, but it's still just a single game award. So this is for over an entire season. So Jeff Rose medalists are not included in this. You have to have won either the Willing Trophy, Newman Medal, or Bruce Medal. If you're in the 85 to 89 range with the player, it will take 11 games for them to improve. In the 80 to 84 range, it will take 7 games. In the 75 to 79 range, it'll take 5 games. In the 65 to 74 range, it'll take 4 games. And 64 or lower, it'll only take 3 games to improve. So the worse a player is to start off with, the easier it is to level them up. But the better the player, the harder it is. So I'll let Drew quickly kind of explain that.
Explain the increasing number of games
Yeah.
that they need to upgrade. Yeah, because this basically means the better you get, the harder it is to improve for you. Because you have a low skill player, they have more room to develop their skills, and if they get more playtime, they will increase the rate. They will improve faster, obviously. So if you have a 77 overall, it's gonna take less time for them to get in the rhythm and improve than for an 87 skill. 87 skill who's already very high quality player and doesn't have as many things to tweak, as many things to improve on. So that's why it takes more time for better players to improve their overall skill. It's exponential. It was the same previously. It was the same for everybody. 5 games. You play 5 games. You increase by 1 point. That kind of contributed to the overabundance of the 99 overall players. This will make it harder to make actually good players. If it if you want a 90 overall player, you gotta invest some time to it. It's gonna take, like, even at 85 overall, it's gonna take 2 seasons at least to get just to 89. Basically 2.5 to get up to 90. So it's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy at all. But that's the point of it. To stop the to kind of decrease the rate at which the best players are being created. If you understand me.
Yeah,
I'm
I
stumbling
understand
over
you. That's it.
I'm stumbling over my words here because I don't know what else to say.
It's all good, Drew. It's all good. When will the ratings improvements take effect? That will be kind of the start of next season,
Right?
and
Everything we've talked about takes effect from the 2022 season onwards.
yep. So when will I need to update the sim rosters? We will have to kind of work that out, I think.
Yeah, yeah, we will definitely work it out. Probably when it's all done, when it's all updated.
Will the games on the injury count against you? We'll get into that next. They will, but it has been changed that too. So So moving on to that, the new downgrade system. So we have to have a downgrade system. We can't just have everyone improving and all that. Otherwise, we just get
Obviously.
yep. That. So
Yeah,
we've
but
worked on the downgrade system a bit. So
and it's almost mostly the same as before. If you miss X number of games in a row, you get you get an overall decrease. But it's been adjusted to where players 80 and over with overall score 80 and up will will need 7 games. Will need to miss 7 games in a row to drop 1 point, and players 79 and down will only need 5 games to drop an overall skill by 1. The reason for this is the general skill of because a player who knows the player who's good, like an 85, 87 overall, is gonna have more skills, is gonna have more skills to learn, and more skills and more skills kind of memorize.
yeah, yeah, like that.
Basically, so it will take longer for them to actually drop, drop an overall point because they would not be as out of rhythm as a lower player who's in need of playtime.
exactly. That's that. So yeah, that the decrease rate, you go down 1 overall if you miss, like if you're 80 or over and you miss 7 games in a row, you'll go down 1 point. But if you're 79 or lower, if you miss 5 games in a row, you'll go down a point. So yes, Omega. It would be good to have lower rated players play more games. So like find a way to kind of
I
get them
mean,
in the
although
rotation.
it's although yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword because the lower rated players will improve higher, but will improve faster. But at the same time, your starting team quality will not be as good, so you're risking losing games. So you kind of need to find a balance between this.
Exactly, I would agree with that. Like, it's a
You
good idea
you
to
can
do it if you're going to put them in the rotation with your major players, but
yeah,
don't just play rookies and all that. Otherwise, you're
yeah.
just going to end up being terrible.
Yeah, you can play full you can play a team starting squad of all 89s, 90s, but they will barely improve. Oh, you will win games, but they will barely improve. Or you can play a skill or you can play basically a reserve team. They will improve faster with time, but the quality will not be as good, and you will probably tank.
Yeah,
So you need to find a balance. Pick out which players are worth spending time on, and level those up. Kind of rotate the roster as well. I know William did that for the past seasons with Melbourne. That that's kind of the best example I can give,
yeah,
honestly.
they're really good at their rotations and all that. And so yeah, rotating players in and out each week would be a good idea, but do that with like your interchange and maybe stuff like that. Don't do that to your entire team. Do it to like interchange,
If
as
you
I
swap,
said.
if you swap out an interchange, maybe one or two players in the main squad. It's what I squad. It's definitely a good idea to rotate the team. At least the interchange, definitely.
Yeah, getting back to Kamara's question there. So, what if a player gets a season-ending injury in week one? Will their overall go down due to the games they miss? Yes, they will, but that was the
Uh,
same under the old system too.
yes, yeah, that's not changed from the old system we used. Because if you miss a game, no matter if it's because of a suspension, if it's because of an injury, if it's because that player wasn't picked in a team, they will still lose overall points, no matter the reason.
Yeah, that's a good example, Omega, of what you're thinking of. But on to kind of Jackie's and our question here. Speaking of the interchange, say players on the bench and then don't see any actual field time, for example, or not up to the 15 minutes minimum, will that still count as a game played? Yes,
Um,
I would.
it it should. We make sure that the player will get at least 15 minutes, or at the very least, very close to it. We had a
Yeah,
couple of cases where it was like 14, 13, 12 minutes. It doesn't happen too often, but we do make sure that everybody gets at least 15 minutes of playtime.
yeah, that will still count as a gameplay because they're doing the warm ups, they're doing the thing, they're getting selected, they're putting in the work to play anyway. So it's like there are players that won't play during the weekend where they'll just be normally they'll have it off, they'll probably tour with the team and they'll sit in the stands, they won't do much. But the ones that are warming up, like they'll get the 22 to warm up and all that, along with maybe one or two emergencies. But we don't have emergencies in the game and that because that's not a thing with us because just how the sim works and all that. But I'm just using an actual example in real life. Like they'll have like 20, they'll have 25 players or 26, I don't know. They'll have around that many kind of training and doing the warm ups and that, and whoever's in deep reserve just doesn't do any of the training and they just put them up in the stands and all that, or they might not even get them a ticket. They might just be staying home for the weekend. But for the players that are going to be playing out there, they will be doing the training, they will be doing the warm ups, they'll be in the rooms and all that, and that does play a part in improving skills and that because they're still getting more training than someone who's not getting the games, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that would count as games played. So don't worry too much about that. And as Drew said, we do try to get every player at least 15 minutes on the field because that's kind of how it works in Aussie rules itself. Like the interchange is very you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. So it's like a lot of like it's you're moving pretty quickly with it. So like everyone on the interchange is getting time on the field. They are playing minutes. They are getting stuff done. It's kind of similar to basketball in a sense that way, just for people who are American and that and know that more than this sport. But just saying, it's very similar to that. So you're on, you're off, you're on, you're off. So that's kind of how it is. So yeah, that's that. I hope that answered your question, Jack. So going on to the salary system, probably another major thing here. Salary system has also been adjusted to compensate the change in the sim and how upgrades and downgrades are done. Drew will go over that now, so we will have to kind of swap over the screens to his one.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's basically the same. It's basically tied to the
just
skill
give me a
overhaul.
sec here to kind of get the screen set up so we're getting your thing through.
Yeah,
I
you can have
can.
a better swap to my screen so you can see it. I've got
I'm just.
a table here. Wait, wait.
Um. Just. There. There we go. Right. Keep going. Just.
Okay. It's basically tied to the skill overhaul. I try to preserve the salary system that was in place because there was no need to inherently change it because it worked well. 14 million total cap with with the salaries dependent on the player's skill. But that being said, when transferring it to the new skills, some players would require a higher salary because of the downgrade. You see it highlighted here. 94 skill 94 would get bumped down to 85, but they would need $75,000 higher salary. For that case, and for 2022 season only, I I implemented temporary minimum salary caps. Those are the blue highlighted bits here, and it's mainly to compensate the sudden change of the skills and sudden change of the salary system. It will affect all players that are out of contract after the 2021 season. So if your player has a contract until 2022 and 2023 and onwards, they will not be affected. If they will be affected, that means out of contract after the season and falling into one of these skill windows. They will either have the minimum skill value be their last minimum salary value, be their last salary value, or the one proposed in the blue windows for their respective skills, whichever is higher. So an example, an 89 skill with $400,000 salary will get dropped down to 80. They would need a $450,000 salary normally, but for next season only, it will be 415,000 only. If they would have, but if they would have a $430,000 salary, then the new salary would still have to be 430,000 at least, because the salary can't go down unless they are over 30, I think. You have a
Yeah,
rule where all the
yeah. If
players get decreased salary for every
yeah,
year.
as players go over 30, we do drop them down by 75,000 because yeah, as players age out of the system, like you don't want to be paying huge money for them, and teams normally don't pay huge money for them. So as they're aging out, you do get reductions in the contract. So we
Yeah.
try to replicate that here. So yeah,
Yeah, basically, yeah. So these are basically just to compensate for the sudden change. We went through the rosters, and it's actually not gonna affect a big number of players. It's gonna affect very small number of players, and most of them are not even the major players in the leagues. I can
I think we had a
those who
look at
are
it last night, and I think the only
yeah.
major one we could find was like Arthur Gilbert at
Arthur,
Perth.
Arthur Gilbert from Perth, yeah, that was the biggest one. But there are a few others, but I can count them on my fingers. For those that I don't want to be insensitive here. Those ones that actually matter for the team, uh, team, and then some reserves. But if those players would want to be signed, then we would tell you what the minimum salary amount would be.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be similar to how we've done it before. We'll tell you what the minimum needs to be for these players when you want to sign them. So we'll let you know about that. So, Drew, anything else to continue on with?
I just hope everybody understood it, because I think it might be very confusing. If you have any questions, ask them now, please.
Yeah, if you have any questions about the salary thing that Drew was talking about, ask them now, because it'd be good to get to them now while we're on it, and then not try to ask them during the Q and A and that. I know
And
Q
we
and
can
A's.
we can we can get to it in the Q&A, but it would just be better now.
Yeah, exactly, because we've got the screen up for Drew and all that. So, everybody happy with that explanation here? Just want to kind of see in the chat here if everyone's kind of okay with it before we move on, and if anyone has any questions to kind of do that.
or maybe or maybe everybody has passed out from how boring I am.
Maybe, I don't know, but we did have to talk about this. This is an important thing here, so.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, Rosie found that pretty funny.
Yeah,
Kimura
okay.
understands well enough. It's all
Excellent.
good.
That makes me so happy.
Yep, Jack understands it. Says pretty simple, and
Yeah,
Omega's typing right now.
yeah,
I hope the people who are watching this back and recording understand it too. Omega
excellent.
does,
That is
so
excellent. Thank you, guys.
yeah, very understandable. So we will move back onto the slideshow here. So don't mind the visual thing as it is because I'm just trying to fix it up. I'm talking about the people I'm recording it too, so just all that. So anyway, moving on to the next thing, which is, okay, it's not really much the next thing yet, it's just more explanation on things. This is certainly the biggest change we've done to the FAFL in terms of salary and how things work since the move from AFL Live 2 to Footy Fanatic FX in 2016. We hope that this change will even things up even more and make it even more competitive than before, so we want to make things as competitive as we can. Like, it won't change things as we'll explain a bit going forward. I mean, there's still... One team is still going to have to win the wooden spoon. That's just how it's going to be, but we're still using Fnatic for next season. Yes, we have not found another sim that does what it does as well. We don't know anyone who could help us create a new sim in that either A, would be available, or B, would want to do it, and I have been looking at some other sims and I have not gotten what I've wanted from them. Like, Australian Football Coach 2020 is a good example. I did actually help beta test that thing, and it's pretty good for what it is as a coaching game, but I just don't like it as a sim for the FAFL. I just can't get it to work the way that I want it to. But, as I said, I have been looking out for it, but it is what it is. We're going to be sticking with Footy Fanatic for now. We also plan to make positions easier to understand in the spreadsheet so that people can more easily understand where they can play each player on the field, as there has been some confusing from some coaches on where they can exactly play each player on the field. Because, I'll state this for the record, you can play any player of a same type of player in the position of that. So if you're gonna play a back, you can play. You can play them from if you got a back, you can play them in full back, back pocket, half back flank, and centre half back, as for example. So you can do that. So we're gonna make it easier to explain positions.
Basically defensive players can play in almost any defensive position, and midfield players can play in any midfield position except for rucks, and any forward can basically play in any forward position if it needs to happen. They still have their preferred positions, obviously, but it's not strictly done. It's not strictly said where they have to play, and they can't play anywhere else. It doesn't work like that. So if you have a full forward, they can play on a forward pocket if an emergency occurs. If you have a back pocket, they can play on full back if an emergency occurs, and things like that.
Yeah, and you won't get like debuffed or anything for it. You can do that. It's very much easy to do that. It's like that teams will do it all the time. Like, let's look at a visual shot for folks. Yep, I think that's a good idea. Yeah. So we'll work on that, Rosie. When you're available on that, we can work on that and work all things out with that, because that would really help. So we can do that. We'll put that in the coaching spreadsheet. We'll put it out there, and we can explain it, and people will actually kind of get that. Like, that's one thing I perhaps need to get to, but haven't had to get. Well, one, I didn't know if it was a major problem, and two, we need to kind of do some of the little things too, and we haven't had a chance to do that. So just kind of waiting a little bit here. Yep, I will send that to you, Rosie, and it'll be all good. So yeah, we've got one more thing to get to before the Q&A, and this is something that I have been wanting to kind of get to for a while, as you might know. So yeah, time to get on to kind of this. During the 2021 FAFL season, there has been a couple of incidents in the general chat that have involved participants of this league, including one that we will not name here that involved a participant being temporarily banned from the chat for an extended period of time. So we've had a few incidents in the general chat, as a lot of you guys would know. Some of this behaviour was not on in the eyes of the committee, and we feel that we need to set down some rules for the FAFL chat and how you should treat your fellow participants. I've never felt we needed to lay these down, but said incidents have made us have to. So, we've had a few incidents, you guys know. Guys, we're in a general chat here, and we want to just have things run as smoothly as we can, and just for you guys to get along in that. So, going over kind of the guidelines here, I'll have Drew interject once I've kind of gone through them. That's a good idea, Jack. Don't. Well, actually, we'll go through it. Please, the guidelines are: please be nice to each other. Please don't insult each other. If you have a problem with someone, discuss it privately, or let Drew or myself know. Like, guys, let's not sledge each other on the general chats, please.
There's just no need for that. There is absolutely no need for this kind of behavior. We're in a server because we share a common interest. We can talk about it. We can have fun together, enjoy the time spent. But if something happens, if tension is created for whatever reason, please keep the FAFL chat out of it. Take it to private. Take it to DMs. Tell me or Brian about it, but don't, please.
All right. Jack did say something, and I do want to add to this too. If Jack, please don't turn on the mic at the moment. I'm just kind of explaining.
No.
Don't. It's a general thing. Don't. He makes a good point here. If you're not involved with the incident and that, please don't poke someone that's involved in that. Please don't get involved in anything that's between two people and and keep in mind that people do get stressed out in that during real life, and that just when you're making comments and that, just sometimes people can kind of take them the wrong way a little bit and that. So but yeah, like don't try and poke anyone if they're like, you know, they've had an incident with someone and that, like, don't involve yourself in it. Leave it to us. Like, don't get involved. Use the appropriate channels in the server. If you have to vent, please use the vent room and don't vent on the general chat. That's what the vent room is for. Don't go over the top within the general chat. Like, just if you're angry about something and you have to vent it out, go to the vent room. That's the room for it. Do it there. And
that includes ranting about your team losing a match. If you can't contain it, if you can't contain that your team got beat, use the vent room as well. That's not just a place for IRL stuff.
Yeah, use the vent room.
I'm not saying you absolutely have to take a loss with head raised up. Like, you have a right to be upset. You have a right to be
you do have a right to be upset with how matches go. Like, that's fine. Coaches do get upset. Players get upset at matches. Just don't do it in the general chat. Just do it in the vent room, because in that case, people know what to expect there and they don't get peeved off. So and I think Kamori makes a good point. If you're being sarcastic or joking in chat, please do the best to make it clear that you are, because we've had a few instances where a few contributors have been like either sarcastic or joking in that, or playing a character, and it wasn't clear enough to them that it was, and people thought that they were actually going that way, and that caused a bit of friction too. So keep that in mind. If you are being sarcastic or joking in chat or playing as a character, make it clear that you are. I didn't think I'd have to say that, but sometimes just just keep that in mind, guys. And like Jack is right. Like like when Geelong loses, I might well go, well, bleep. That's a bit bleep. I'm trying to keep this kind of family friendly a little bit.
For YouTube, obviously.
Yeah, for YouTube. Some take that as a rant. That's fine. Like as I said, people do take things different ways, and that's why I would suggest if you are gonna be upset about a loss, take it to the vent room, because that way, if you are going to be angry, just put it in there, because that's probably the best place to put it, so the general chat isn't just clogged up with kind of negativity about that, because we kind of had a bit of an issue with that too, where it felt like people were just using the general chat to vent about how their teams were going, and a lot of people weren't happy. Some people weren't happy with how their teams were going, and that's just not the right forum for that. Use the vent room for that. Just kind of going through the stuff here before I finish up on this slide.
On that, yeah, and again, on that front, what we're talking about, ranting about your team's losing. Remember, this is a fantasy sports league. Nothing is at stake here other than bragging rights, basically. Also, if this was a perfect world, everybody would be at 11-11 with 100% scoring record. We'd all make it equal if we could, but we can't. This is real world. Somebody has to win. Somebody has to lose. Do not take it too seriously.
I agree.
I learned this myself. When I joined the Fun Fandom, I took it way too seriously myself. Getting into the admin role, like the one who takes
Played
the
the
one who
Operation
takes
Five House. And there were 3 cars smashed together. I was like, oh my god.
Omega, you've unmuted your mic.
Oh.
I'll mute you, okay? It's all good. Sorry, we got a bit of an interruption there. Go right ahead, Drew.
Yeah. So basically, this is the thing we felt we needed to address. Some people did take it too close to their heart. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's really not good for you and really not good for anybody who has to witness it.
Yeah,
But this, remember, nothing is at stake here. Like you're not winning any actual prizes. You're not winning any money. This is all just for fun, just for bragging rights. Nothing. You gain nothing else from this.
I agree with that. Like, I used to take things pretty seriously myself. Wait, is Omega talking here? It's okay, it happens, it's okay, you know.
Oh no.
It's okay, like,
Oh, man.
I've had times where people have fumbled with buttons on things too, like, the buttons on Discord are very easy to bap, like, I've had multiple people kind of do that, but yeah, guys, it's just a sports link. We don't have any prizes. We don't have anything. Like, yeah, your team might win the championship, and that's good. Or they might win the Winspoon, and that's not so good. But it's just a fantasy sports league. You're not here to be the actual coach of an actual team. We just gotta take it and be a bit fun. That I get there are going to be frustrations here, and of course people are not going to be happy when their team loses. But just, guys, keep that in mind. We are just a fantasy sports league. We are not the real life thing, and just try not to just get too worked up over these results. Just, yeah, if you're on a losing streak, yeah, it absolutely does suck, but it's just, or if your team's not going too well, or if they've gone well and they've just done a complete drop in form, it is going to tick you off. I will agree with that, but let's not get super, super worked up over it. Like, yeah, let it be known. You can let it be known that, oh, yeah, this sucks, all that. Just do it. Just do it either try to do it in a way that's not too brazen, or if you have to be brazen about it, do it in the vent room, or just just keep that in mind. But just kind of going over a few things here. Roger says, this is still a family-friendly server, but just be mindful of that. Yeah, we do have people who are under 18 in the server, so do keep that in mind. Like, try not to be super sweary on the general chat as a rule. Like, this isn't lads' night. Like, just try and keep it clean in the general. Like, that's what I'm saying. Simple, don't give people a reason to pop, and don't poke them when they're really angry. That's a good idea. As I said, if you are not involved in something that's happened, do not try to message these people, because they may be very furious and they may get quite angry. So just let them cool off a little bit, and we will work it out as the commissioners and that. And Rosie again, remember folks put a lot of work into this. Yes, we do. We put a lot of work into this. We really do dedicate our time to do this and that, and it can be a little frustrating when it feels like for a lot of the time people are quite cross with what's going on and all that, and we try to fix it, we try to do our best, but then it just doesn't feel like it's enough sometimes, and it can be a little frustrating. But I get that you guys got pissed off and all that a little bit with how your teams are going, and sometimes, but it's, we put a lot of time in this, we try our absolute best, and I think everyone agrees on that we do. And it's just, sometimes it's just, we do get it. And we are trying, and just, it helps. Just know that we're doing that. So, as much as we wish we could, yeah, like, we wish we could have a lot more help here and help spread it out. But we know how life is. There are people who do want to help that aren't able to help because they're busy, or there are people who are happy with what they're doing and just, don't want to really help out with the things and that's absolutely fine. Okay, so, yeah, if your team just missed the playoffs, yeah, that does suck and all that, but yeah, keep that in mind that it is just a fantasy sports league. Jack says he's helped with The Sims. Yes, he has. PG is the best term for this server, Kamori. I highly agree with that. Jack is like, I don't need anyone talking down to me like I'm a naughty school child. Yeah, don't. If you're gonna be angry at someone, try not to get that. Just, let's try our best to just, if we have to, you have to kind of say something, but don't try and be super, I don't know,
let's just keep it excellent between us. To paraphrase a movie quote.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. Just keep it excellent, guys. I've never seen that movie, but
me neither. But it's a famous quote.
Okay, right. You guys do wonderful work. I'm eternally grateful that I was able to learn this sport because you guys. Thanks, Omega. I know that's a lot of the sentiment between a lot of people in the server, because this originally started as a bit of a local thing. We got a couple of people who were local to Australia doing it, and yeah, now it's really kind of exploded with a lot of international people, and we've kind of explained it to you guys, and you guys are quite like the sport. I'm glad, like, this is my favorite sport in the world, and it just feels glad to share it with guys like you and that. Like, that's one of my favorite things about this, is being able to share this sport that has always been a major part of Australian culture, but has never truly been able to break outside of it, and it's not from a lack of trying. There have been attempts, like there have been international games and off-seasons in like Vancouver and Britain and in the US in Portland. There have been Premiership points games in New Zealand and China, but it's like it just hasn't taken entirely off. But
because people think it's too weird.
Well, at first glance they do, but once they get a look in and a bit of it, they think that it is just a great sport, and I'm just glad you guys agree.
I'm joking.
Yeah, I know, but I know the feeling. Like, I know the jokes, I know the thing. I've seen the ESPN people joking about it. Like, I know what the perception is in outside world. It's a crazy sport where they play with no pads, and I know what the thing is.
By that logic, rugby is also a weird sport.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of people think gridiron in the US is weird outside of it, so it's a similar thing. Like, I do hope that one day the sport does have a sort of cult following like the NFL has over here. I don't expect it to be big business outside here, but just, just a fan base that, you know what I mean. But it's like, I'm glad that you guys have kind of learned about it and all that, and I'm glad you guys have stuck around, gotten enthused, gotten your teams and gotten your players in, and kept going at it. Like, it's a good community, guys. Let's keep it that way. Same, didn't know bleep about Aussie rules until this league. Yeah, that's the main story for a lot of people, Jack, but yeah. I honestly find it a bit funny that I joined this and one of the sports group for the FBA. Yeah, that is kind of a bit funny, but I know you joined Formula 1 straight up first because that was your main thing. Like, hey, we all have our main sports in that, so I know... I mean, I'm big in Formula 1 too. I know Drew is, and quite a few people are here. Might be able to play Aussie rules a local team in Reading. That is actually pretty nice, Jack. Let us know if you do actually go on that team. And yeah, that's what I'm just saying. We are a good community. We are a close community, and just... Guys, I know we may butt heads sometimes a little bit, but just keep that in, just keep it in mind. We're all here for the same reason, that we are a community, we enjoy what we're doing here, and we're here because we just either love this sport or find it so interesting that we're just going to have a player or a team in here. So, yeah, that's all good. So, yeah, that was a bit of a hard one to do, but much needed thing here. So, moving on to the final slide here with the Q&A. Do we have any questions? I will kind of go through the backlog and see if there's anything that has been asked we haven't answered, and we'll keep answering them. So, I know that there's one thing we didn't answer from Jack earlier. A sub-idea he sort of had was for a showcase for the rookies, to bring the spotlights on the rookies. And that is a good idea. I would love to do that. I know the FBA does that with the rookie combine matches, but we just don't have enough rookies per season to be able to do that. Because to do that, we would need 48 rookies, and we'd need them to be in all sorts of positions, and it'd just be too hard for us to do with how many players you need for this sport. So, you need 44 players in general for the draft, and you'd have to be able to have the same amount to do it. So, it would be pretty hard to do. So, it's a good idea. I would do it if we did get a lot more people in the draft and that we could do it. But it's just, I don't think we have the logistics for it. Like, how many people do we have in the previous draft, Drew? Like, that it... I'm sorry to kind of spring it up. I'll have a quick look myself, but you know what I mean. Like, 2021 FAFL draft. Just right, draft. We had 42. That's too short of what we need to actually do a match there, so... That's how that goes. So on to the questions later on. Will Fremantle win the grand final this year? Well, yeah, maybe if you play your cards right. Like, you have a 1 in 14 chance. That's a chance there, Kamori. Like, 1 in 14, that's your shot. That's everyone's shot, 1 in 14. Omega suddenly dumps a dozen rookies. Yeah. Yeah, I'd appreciate it, but yeah, we do like to have a good amount of additional players and that, but like, we gotta work on it. Nice pick, thanks. I did kind of this collage there, like, I think it's good. You can notice that we've got the 2 new logos for Adelaide and Hobart in there, so Blue the Bear did Adelaide, and Drew here did Hobart here, so... Oh, and the slides faded. I didn't actually put that in. I think it was automatic. Yeah, I think it might be my desktop. Any chance of increasing the max player weight? I know what you're doing there, Rosie. I know what you're doing there. I like the idea, but I don't think it's feasible. And I know you were kidding on that one.
You would do it if you could.
Yeah. Do I? Have you seen the players I've gotten everything else? Have you seen my quarterback, which is Jaggers Boyd and has Tyron Appleby? Oh, God. Yep.
Well, Hobart make it to the playoffs next year. I mean, they made it to the playoffs this year. Who says they can't do it again?
Yeah, they can do it again. I think they just need a few spots here and there that just need to be fixed up, and I think there's good. Any sort of under... I don't think we do have that just because there's just so many players needed for a team. The Underwood rule is in the FBA you can only have so many of a certain type of species before you breach the rule there. So it's like you can only have so many like canines or so many felines or so many mustelids or all that. Or so many birds or stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly. It's
we have much bigger teams than the FBA does. I don't know. I don't even know how big the basketball team rosters are. Like
you've got 5 on the court, 5 on the bench, and then 5 in reserve, so 15 per team.
15 players per team.
And that wouldn't actually, wouldn't actually even fill a FAFL team, as you guys know. You need 22 for that to go out there. So, like...
You want to do for the main squad, and it's usually double that, and it's usually another 18 for the reserves on average. And so you have about 40 players per team.
Yeah, so it's like you're comparing...
So the Underwood rule will not be feasible here.
Yeah, it just wouldn't be, because, one, I don't think we need it, because it's just we don't need it because there's just so many players per team. Like, if we did have sizes of like the basketball teams, like if we had only 15 per team, yeah, we would need it, but I don't think we need it particularly here. And I think Rosie makes a good point. Like, it is different because it's much bigger here than in the FBA. It's similar for the UFL. They have even bigger teams. I think they have like 53 a roster for those teams. They have massive teams in like American football and that. Like, I mean, the Underwood rule could be a potential thing to do in Formula 1, but not here, not in the UFL, maybe in the FFBL potentially, but not when we're having 40, 50 low player teams here. Like, you know, it's like... But yeah, mustard lids... I said mustelids, pine martens, otters. Do weasels count, or are they something else?
I think they would count.
Okay, like those sort of things.
I'm no zoologist, but I think they would count.
Yep. We were not talking about condiments, Jack. I know it sounds similar, but I was just thinking of types of species in it. How would it work in F1? I don't know. Ask Drew and J-Wolf and Azura on that.
Yeah. That's not a question for the FAFL.
No, that's if you bring it up with J-Wolf and Co and that they can answer that, but I don't do anything in that in terms of running something, so I can't answer that one. Yeah, maybe something like that with both drives having to be different species, but again, I don't have the authority on that. Any other rules? Any other questions? I know. Blades wants to do a Team Australia versus Team World thing for the All-Star game, or its own game, which I would like to do, but we need to get more international draftees in. So if there's an incentive for you to kind of put in more international players, it would be for this draft, so we could potentially do that. So Team Australia versus...
That although doesn't mean to completely disregard the native Australian players.
Exactly. Don't completely disregard Australians in the draft. We need them, otherwise it's not going to make sense. But if you're going to put in an international player, do think about that. But again, like, just keep that in mind. Like yeah, have maybe like one. If you're going to do like, let's say, 2 draftees, maybe 1 international, 1 Australian, or 2 Australian, 1 international, or just keep it in a decent mix, you know? I think, actually, from what I was told, we would theoretically hit the threshold we need to just normally by doing what we're doing. You can do it, but like, as I said, keep in mind, we do need to have a good Australian roster too, as Drew said. Yeah, and I would expect Anderson to be an Aussie. Like, I would expect him to be either in the junior system in Victoria or to have done it in Queensland because... And that... Yeah, exactly. Kamari did an international the first year, then one Aussie, and then one international. So just keep that in mind. Actually, the Stonewall Twins are from Canada. Well, that could work, but if they were with their father, like, they'd be probably in the Tasmanian junior system. Like, they could be born in Canada, but they would have come through in the Tassie system. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, like, Charles has been the coach since 2016, so they would have spent a good chunk of their junior development in Tasmania, because they would have been part of that family. So, what's Kamari gonna say here?
Oh my god. I think Mori and Omega are planning something together.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. Like, if you need help with Gaelic football stuff, because normally what happens with the Irish players is that they'll play Gaelic football and then they'll transition to Aussie rules because the games are so similar. So, if you guys need help with the Gaelic football details, I'll help you because they're a bit different. They don't do professional, they do amateur, and that's why you see so many. That's why you see so many Irish players transitioning to the AFL, because the AFL is professional, Aussie rules is professional, Gaelic football is not. It's a strictly amateur thing. But I will help you guys out because I have done a few Irish draftees myself. I've got Kevin McCormick, Ladasha O'Dale, and a few others. And I do know about the Irish game because of, well, as I brought up before, international rules. That's a combined game between the two codes that the AFL and GAA do. Like, they used to do it every year, but they haven't been doing it much recently. Like, they were trying to get it started back up again every 2 years, but then COVID happened and all that, so... But yeah, that's how I know about Gaelic football, because of that. And yeah, Ladasha, the original, yeah, that LE-A was, I got the name from an OSW episode where they complained about the name because the Ladasha that was in that thing was LE, A. LE, A. And they were complaining about how it's not a dash in that. It's just, God, that's where Ladasha O'Donnell got the Ladasha in her name. I think if Cove is watching this, he will get what I'm saying. But yeah, anything else, you guys, before we kind of wrap it up here? So, any other rules, any other questions you guys have, anything you want to bring up, or just anything in general. Like, it can be very minor in detail about something, or when's this happening, or when are we doing that, or stuff like that. Just anything, go right ahead.
Not that kind of question,
Not
Jack.
that kind of question, Jack. Pretty much the draftee submission form is normally open until we get enough, because I've never had the point where I've had to go, right, you've got until this date to get done. Like, as I said, preferably before February. So, like, this rest of this month, January. Try and get them all in then. Just like, because I'm planning on having I did send this to Drew, we are planning on having the fixture and all that starting in March with a 3-week preseason, because I know right at the end of preseason this year, Rosie came to me saying that it would be better to have a 3-week preseason, so that's what we're doing. 3 weeks of preseason, and then March 24th, let me actually check that, March 24th, I'm pretty sure it might have gotten a little, let's see, March 24th, is that, yep, that's right. I was a little confused because the AFL is going to be starting on a Wednesday, we're going to be starting on a Thursday. So March 24th through to October 1st is going to be the Premiership season. So, Yeah, I know it is kind of blare for some people. It's how it kind of is a bit. Like, our off-season's meant to be from October to February. But, as I said, we finished late and all that, so it is what it is. And we've had it open for a while. It never used to, actually, the preseason games. Do they count towards skill increase and decrease? Would they count, Drew, or are they something separate?
I think no, because they're not official games. And there's so many rotations that the games played would not really play a big part to it. They're not like they're not official. They're not actual games. The rosters are usually messed up because the coaches are experimenting with what they can do, what's a good idea, what's a bad idea. So I think for the sake of and it would get complicated as well. So for the sake of simplicity, the preseason games would not count towards the skill increase or decrease.
I cover. But yeah, that's right. Like, even then, like, players aren't entirely taking it too seriously in the preseason either. They just want to kind of get through them, start gelling the team. You know, it's like it's a bit more relaxed. Like, you're not in front of like 100,000 at the G on Grand Final Day. You're normally with this thing, you're in front of like 5,000 people in Whyalla or something. Like, because the AFL does all their stuff at like regional grounds because of like cricket. Like, you guys know what cricket is like. It's kind of like baseball and that, but like they take over the ovals during summer. So like they'll take out the goalposts and all that and put in the cricket pitches and all that. So like the major stadiums are taken up for the cricket and all that, which includes like 2020 Big Bash, which is fast cricket, and like the test matches with Australia and whoever's touring that year. So from about, I would say, November to February, every major stadium you can think of that is your stadiums, like, are out of commission. Like, for example, Kamori, Perth Stadium, out of commission. That's all cricket. Jack, your stadium does have cricket too, but not major stuff, but they'll put in a pitch and that. So, yeah, Continue Park, out of commission. Rose is kind of left in that. But they won't lose anything either, that's right. But yeah, like Hobart, they're going to be getting a test this year, so that's Hobart's ground out of commission. So pretty much, if you can think of a team, unless they're Orange or like Cairns, their home ground is probably out of commission for cricket during the summer. So that's why all the pre-season takes place at these regional grounds and that. And that's why it's called the Community Series, because it will take place at like these very small grounds in like either suburban Melbourne or suburban areas, or even in like rural areas like Whyalla or Burpengary or Geraldton. No, as I said, there was there was actually a premiership match for points in China and Shanghai for a bit, but then COVID put the nix to that in 2020. Port Adelaide were trying to grow a fan base there because of, I don't know. But like, they were trying to do something there. But no, pre-season games normally don't take place out of Australia. They don't normally take place in New Zealand either, but because we've got a New Zealand team, they do. But that they have tried in the past. As I said, there have been pre-season games in South Africa and New Zealand at times, and they've done post-season matches back in the 80s in England and the US and Canada and that. But not at the moment. As I said, they normally just happen at... as we said, Jack, before, no, they will not count for improvement or decreasing or anything. They're just a bit too different to the normal matches. And there's just too much going on for, like, as Drew said, experimentation with teams, players in and out a lot. Like, there's just too much going on in preseason in terms of rotation for it to even really make sense, as Kamori said. So, yeah, they will not count for improvement or decreasing. So that you're fine pre-season. So if you want to really experiment and get crazy, you can do that. Or if you want to really test things out and try and get a hang on things, you can. That's why we also expanded to 3 weeks, to give teams a chance to go in with their lineups that they want to prepare and have a game for experimentation. So it's like, you got 2, you can do what you want. But one last call for questions here. Anything you guys want to bring up that you want us to talk about here, or anything in terms of FAFL, anything you want to ask, or any ideas or anything like that. So if you're all good, we'll head off in a sec, but I just want to see if anyone here has anything, whether it's an idea or a question, that they want to add before we leave. Yes, go right ahead. It's like anything related to the FAFL that you want to know, go right ahead now. This is the time for it. We're about to finish off, so just anything you want to add or anything you want. Biggest worst game. It's a FBA meme where you win and you lose in the same game. Like, you have players on each team. Honestly, probably any game, to be honest, because I've got so many players on so many teams that I practically lost every week in every game. I'm not kidding, by the way. Like, it
depends on the person.
Yeah, it does depend on the person, but if you look at, I think most teams, they've got at least 1 or 2 or even 3 of my players on their squad. So I'm always wasting, baby.
Probably even more.
Yeah, probably even more as well. Yeah, that's not wasting, Jack. That's losing and then having salt rubbed on the wounds because of bad luck.
Yeah. Here's the thing: if you're the coach of one team and have a player on the opposing team, that's a worst game.
Yeah. So, for example, Jack, if you with Geelong, if you played me and you lost to me, or you won against me, that would be a worst game for you because I have Gorielin, which is your player, and you'd be coaching Geelong. Yeah, that would be a worst for
Halworth Gold Coast.
Guys, I got it dropping in the grand final. Isn't that enough? Like 81-point thrashing. God. See, now I'm complaining about losses here. Yeah, congrats. I should say congrats to Adelaide. 2 years after winning the wooden spoon, they win the premiership. Big congrats to them, and just a wonderful story all round. So they're gonna have the Tigers on their back next season. I tell you, every other the 13 other clubs are gonna want to beat them. So I think you can all agree. But yeah, if that's it, we will head out because I think we've been going for about an hour and a half here, and things getting late for Drew and Jack. I need to have breakfast, and you guys still have an afternoon to kind of do stuff and that. So I thank you guys for coming out here, and Carver, I know you got in here late. There will be a recording of this up on the YouTube channel very soon, going through things. So yep, you're welcome, Omega. This is the first time we've done it in a while, so it's good to kind of touch base, go through things, and just tell us where we're at and all that. So, thank you guys for coming out here. Thank you guys for coaching this year. Thank you guys for having players and all that. And I just thank you for being a part of the FAFL and just coming to this meeting, because never in my wildest dreams did I think it'd be this big and that. And I just love how we've gone to it. I mean, we've had growing pains and all that, and that happens, but I appreciate just everyone being involved here. Just thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Anyway, thank you guys. We are going to head off. So, I'll catch you later with any more announcements or any things in that. So, yeah, I'll catch you guys later.